Howdy howdy one and all, it's your boy Hill Country Fair, and we are here back today again with some more Killjoy setups. We're going to take a look at the map Breeze today. We're going to show you some setups for B, a couple of retake positions for A and B. Both of them work very well. Overall, Killjoy is fairly decent on this map. She does pretty good job controlling both sites depending on which respective site you put her on. But the only crux of it is that unfortunately, because of the sites being so very large and there not being a ton of blockage and walls on the site, they have a little bit of an issue with their ult. Killjoy does not have the best ult on this site, so just keep that in mind when looking at our retake setups. But without further ado, let's go in. Putting the B in Breeze, we're going to check out the B site of this setup map first. For this setup, we're going to have our turret right here in elbow position. We're going to want to make sure that we set up elbow perfectly well for this. Alarm bot. Plop him on the ladder right there. And then for your first grenade, there are going to be two slightly different ways you can go ahead and put it. If you want, you can go ahead and just chuck it right into the crevice of that wall. Second grenade, you can go ahead and put right above this little slightly lighter stone, right about yonkers. And I will show you in a minute just why this one is a little bit different from our first other grenade setup. This grenade, if you want to go ahead and not finick with that one too much, or you just like this one better, you can go ahead and chuck it right about there. Again, turret, make sure that it can see all of elbow right here. This first setup is going to be making sure that we trap and lock down all of elbow, making sure that they don't get behind us or anything like that. Make sure it is positioned right there. And from the enemy's point of view, the enemy decides to push in, and if you go ahead and set up your grenade there and there, you go ahead and have the alarm bot trip off, and you pop that grenade and that grenade. It is a fairly wonderful setup. Unfortunately, they do have a bit of a safe spot right here in the corner. However, it is not entirely too safe of a spot. They could get shot from there, they could get shot from straight mid, they could get shot from you over there by your turret in the back of elbow. There are a bunch of very compromising places for them to get shot, even if they do end up sticking in this position. So just be aware of that if you decide to put that first grenade right there. Our other first grenade setup would play out a little bit like this. They start to push in, your alarm bot goes off, you pop that one and this one has no little safe space in the corner, which gives them no choice but to either push forward into your turret or onto site through here, or decide to entirely back up. But if they're already somewhere around here, they're going to put themselves in a very awkward position. Again, a lot of places for them to be shot at, through mid, through the side of B wall right there. Maybe you're over here with your turret a little bit further up if they haven't pushed so far into elbow. There are a ton of very good places for you to hide and position yourself to where the enemy will have no idea where you're at. And speaking of positions, you're going to want to go ahead and set your little wiggly waggly body up around your turret right here around this wall. Keep in mind, this wall is entirely wall bangable. Let's say you have a Sova or someone else on the other team that can get you a tracker on them. Cypher maybe, you can go ahead and wall them through here, but for the most part, keep an eye on your turret, keep an eye on your alarm bot, make sure you know where they are. Once you know where they are and your turret is go ahead and shooting away at people, or your alarm bot goes ahead and gets activated, you can go ahead and set off your two grenades over there and get to shooting. And now going away from elbow and moving towards the center of the site, this setup here will make sure you lock down the main part of site a little bit better. Isn't exactly a retake one, but it may as well be used for one if you would like to. It can potentially maybe not get the planter off, but it can maybe catch some people off guard who are pushing elbow or things like that. So for this setup, you're going to want to set your first grenade like this one right there. Second grenade, opposite corner right there. Alarm bot right on that little Lego lip of the map, or excuse me, of the site. And then for your turret, this one is going to be facing the site, all while being able to look at mid. As you can see there, it gets a tiny little view of mid in case you are getting pushed from there, as well as main. As most of these setups go, the turret placement is a little bit up to your discretion, whether or not the enemies are able to find it in time, or if you are able to get some good shots off with it. So an alternative placement for your turret with this setup could be somewhere right around right here. That way it gets a decent look at elbow in case they are trying to push up and wrap around behind you like a silly spaghetti. This setup will work very, very well if you have an enemy that is being very, very aggressive. You have an egotistical jet pushing in, trying to slap your head off like a piece of salami, or you have a piece of the enemy team pushing over mid here. This setup will make sure that it slows them down a bit, maybe makes them hesitate, maybe gives your team time to regroup and reorganize. But this setup, in my opinion, gives you a wonderful, wonderful grasp of the site depending on where you are placed. And when the enemy starts to push in, they might see your teammate around elbow. Your teammate might start to back up if there's a lot of them, so they might see someone there. They might not feel too confident about going elbow. They might not know how many people are there, so they decide to push onto site. Your alarm bot goes off, your turret goes off at the exact same time. You wait for the plant, maybe not, depending on where your team is at. But once you start to hear them, pop your grenades. It gives you a wonderful, wonderful wide area of the site right there. It forces them either to push over towards elbow where you or your teammate hopefully will be, or it pushes them, to maybe make themselves a little bit more open on site, giving you and your team, if they are around your CT, gives you and your team more than ample enough time to give the enemy a fresh cut on the head with a bullet. As far as where you are positioned on this setup, you're going to want to make sure you are relatively close to your turret. So if you decide to put your turret in that corner right there, hold yourself in the same position as your setup before, right here around this pillar. Or if you decide to go ahead and set up your turret right here around the B wall, you're going to want to position yourself right around there as well, making sure that you are keeping an eye on what your turret is seeing, making sure you're keeping an eye on your alarm bot, as well as mid, and making sure that you hopefully have a teammate somewhere around mid, that way you don't get trapped. With all of our normal setups on B out of the way, we're going ahead and take a look at our retake setup here for B. What you're going to want to go ahead and do is give your grenades a little bit of a costume contest. You're going to want to put one right there as far as you can inside of the box, like so. Maybe a little bit lower. As you can see, my first one is there quite perfectly. The other one sort of became a flapjack. So just make sure you get it in that corner as much as you can for that first grenade. Second grenade, sort of the same thing. Just going to want ahead and put it behind good old Plank, old buddy, old pal from Ed, Edd n Eddy. Alarm bot, sort of wherever the fuck you want to put it. It can be right there. It can be more over here. It can be more over towards this box. That is entirely up to you. And then turret, same position as our second setup. That way it gives you a good look towards mid. If you are the enemy who so decides to choose to push against you, the absolute Killjoy, Killtacular, they are going to run into this. The alarm bot is going to pop off somewhere. They're going to try to shoot it. They're going to have to shoot your turret. All while they are doing that, gives you more than ample enough time while they're planting to go ahead and pop off both of those with a wonderful, wonderful block of the entire site for the most part. They'd either have to go all the way to the back of site or towards here, towards mid, where hopefully you or a teammate will be there to give them some fries. As this is a retake for your position, you are obviously going to be coming back onto site. So just like I said, wait for the alarm bot or for your turret to go off at all. Keep an eye on mid. Set off the grenades. Take a peek, take a gander. Make sure you are not completely opening up yourself to a 1v2. And you should have a very wonderful time at a retake on this site. Dipping our toes in the water towards A site now, we are going to want to go ahead and start our first setup towards mid door right here. This is going to make sure that no enemies are able to come in here without your say-so, and make sure that they are good and prepped and ready. They have their face mask, they are vaccinated, and this one will be very, very good for that. First grenade right on the door. Second grenade right about yonder. Alarm bot dead center in the middle of them. You can decide to put it left or right. As you can see, for the most part, it covers the entirety of it. Maybe you want to throw it a little bit more right here. You can do that. And we have 4 different setups for our turret here. Here on top of the orange box. Here in the water, taking a look at cave. And here on the steps right there. You may use these 4 different turret setups on your own discretion, depending on where your team is on the map, where they're set up, and what they're doing. But for the most part, if you position your turret there, that is most likely going to be if you want to maintain 100% control on door. If you maybe aren't so sure about your teammates, or you're the only one holding this site, any of the other turret positions will help you with that. This one in the water, most definitely, making sure that no one is pushing you cave. Up on orange box will also be a very good one for pushing towards cave. And up on the stairs will definitely be a big help if they decide to majorly push it onto the site. So let's say we go ahead and put our turret position right there. The enemy's point of view is going to be just this. They are going to push in through mid doors, wondering where you are, thinking you're so dumb for leaving the site completely open. Your alarm bot's gonna go off. That's gonna go off. That's gonna go off. There is going to be a ton of damage done to them where they will not be able to hide at all. It will either force them to decide to push onto site and deal with your turret and whatever horrors are awaiting them on site, or push back towards mid where hopefully again a teammate is hiding somewhere right around there or right around mid. This setup will help contain any speedy speedsters who are deciding to just not give a flying fuck about you or your team and just push onto site and shoot you with not a second thought about your wife and family or son and daughter and husband or kids. And it'll make sure that they maybe think another second about pushing into your site. And of course, as always, with your position with your character, orange box right here would be a fairly decent one. Making sure you get a good look onto mid doors right there. Also, while being able to take a quick little peek at caves, you could obviously also just hold P1 right here, pyramid 1 in the water right here. Be careful, the water does make a big splashy splash sound, so just be aware of that. Make sure to walk if you need to. You can peek up a little bit there. You can even do a jump peek, take a look to see if there's anyone pushing there. You can even check towards cave right there. It is entirely up to you, and dependent on where your turret is, just make sure that you are within range of your turret and your alarm bot as always. The second setup for A on Breeze is going to be a site hold. We're going to make sure that you have everything placed and positioned well if they do so and go ahead and try to plant. So for first off, we're going to want to go ahead and throw our alarm bot not exactly all the way in the corner. It might not get them, but just enough in the corner to where they can't see it until it's too late. So right around. First grenade around this little grate right here. Second grenade there, somewhere right around there. Any of the previous turret setups we just showed you would also work with this setup right here, but another one that I like fairly well is right here. It gives them a little bit of, it gives your turret a little bit more survivability as opposed to putting it right here where they are able to just slightly peek this angle and shoot it without being able to see you. It gives you enough time to know if they're actually in or if they're just sort of playing a little test in the waters game. It gives you ample enough time to wonder where they are, and then from there they step onto site, your alarm bot goes off, or they decide to plant, pop the 2 grenades, puts them in a very precarious situation. If they do so, go ahead to try to plant here. Hopefully you have someone mid-doors, or hopefully you have someone around the back side of site able to go ahead and give them their just desserts. If they so happen to decide to push onto site, after getting blasted by those grenades, it puts them in an even more precarious predicament because let's say door is open, you have a teammate peeking from there, let's say they're peeking from stairs, let's say they're peeking from that side of orange box, let's say they're peeking from that side of orange box, let's say they're just getting back from CT and they're right there. There are insane amounts of angles for you and your team to go ahead and shoot them from. And this setup for me works really, really well when you have a second person on this site able to help you guard mid doors, making sure you are able to entirely get a good viewpoint onto site, make sure you know who's going in and doing what. So just be aware of where your enemy team and your ally team is when doing this setup and making sure that you know what to do. For our last setup on Breeze entirely for Killjoy, we're going to want to go ahead and show you our retake setup for A right here. It is going to be grenades only. That is necessarily the main thing you want to worry about when your Killjoy is setting up your grenades for a retake. So for this one, first grenade like so, I will go ahead and show you. You're going to want to slap your cock or titties as close up to the pyramid as you can. Line up your thingy right around there. Go ahead and hit the right click. Drops off right there, catches it. Second grenade, exact same position on the other side of the pyramid. Plop it up, watch it drop down. Wonderful, wonderful setup for both of them. The enemy will be looking down on the ground when in fact it'll be right in front of their faces. So when the enemy go ahead and starts to plant, pop your grenades. Not crouchable, not blockable. They will have to entirely move their setup or potentially go ahead and push out, delaying the plant time, all while giving you and your team just enough time to think of a plan and potentially recuperate what could be a lost round into a win round. And that is going to go ahead and do it for us on Breeze for Killjoy right here. I want to thank you guys so very much for checking out these setups for Killjoy or for Cypher. It means so very much to me that you guys are going ahead and supporting and watching the videos. It is more than enough support just by watching them. But if you want to support a little bit more, you can go ahead and like the video and or comment on which setup was your favorite. Let me know if I missed a setup. Let me know what your favorite pancake color is. Let me know what your favorite grenade is. Let me know what other agents you want me to put on this setup tutorials right here. Give me all the info you want. Give me none of the info you want. It is entirely up to y'all. I appreciate it just for watching the videos, and I will see you guys on the next one.